That's fair. I think I booked a commercial today, by the way.
Was it the
Upscale Mom?
Heck yeah, girl.
Wow.
I'm on a veil. I don't know what that means.
Upscale
They
Mom.
put a pin in you, right?
Pretty much.
And then they're like, you have to clear all your dates, but we may not use you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Just wanted to
fun.
confirm.
It's probably down to like anywhere from you and someone else, maybe you and up to 5 people.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. Being put on a veil always felt good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your top. You're a contender.
Great.
So you got to hope if there's anyone ahead of you, they're doing something else
They're
on that
busy.
day.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
What did you tell me you did in that audition again?
I had to improv a scene where little kids, I was handing out candy, and a group of children stole the bowl. I think I called them little bastards.
Oh, okay.
little bastards, which I thought, man, I would
It's a
not
bold move,
get the commercial.
But it worked.
I go big, so, sometimes that works in my favor, and most of the time it doesn't.
And you don't know the brand yet.
I do.
Is it like confidential?
I
We
don't-
won't do it live then.
Yeah, I just don't put this in here because I don't think.
I'm like, don't say it.
Don't
If you gotta,
say it.
don't
Tell
say it.
us.
I
Okay,
want to edit it.
all right, okay, cool.
I remember the last time we had you on the show that he was like editing things out at that point. It's a lot of work, but you spent like an hour on it.
Well, I gotta tell people now, like, don't say anything. Act like it's live. I can always edit out if there's a slip. But if someone's
with
like, oh, just edit
yours,
that
you
out, I'm like,
spent
then
a
I gotta
little
go and
extra
line it all
time.
up and do a thing.
That's so dangerous to have me on this thing and not.
Like if there's anything crazy, of course, but
Right. I don't even know what's gonna come out
no
usually.
filter.
So.
We're working our way up to the rated R portion of the show. But
Gotcha. Yeah,
I'm
we'll
glad we got to
start.
catch up for like 4 hours the other day, but not on air.
Yes, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, because I would have had to have.
Legally
We would have probably got like 17 minutes out of that 4 hours
That's being
that we could have
generous.
put.
That's being
Yeah.
generous.
You came over to podcast and we all
Yeah.
just sat there and just chatted for hours,
Yep.
not on the air. And it's a good thing we didn't.
Yep.
Catching up.
Yep. Yep. Well, because I haven't seen you guys in like a year.
I know.
Un año.
Oh, yeah, you learned
class?
Spanish. So.
How long have you been in
Pretty
Spanish
good.
class?
About 3 months.
3 months?
I'm pretty good.
Necesito más practicar.
You need to practice.
Sí.
Give me another sentence.
Claro que sí. It's not a sentence.
Claro
that just
que
means,
sí.
of course.
Oh.
So you actually go to a class room?
Yes. Yes.
One-on-one, or there's people?
I do two. So there's a class, like an actual class, which is kind of fun to go back to class. I always liked class and taking
Yeah.
notes and doing all. I always really liked learning. So that's on Wednesday nights, and then I do a private tutor with
Oh, wow.
the guy that created the program. So we just kind of
Great.
talk for an hour, and we'll work on things, and we're working on the past participle,
Yeah.
which is hard because I don't really understand English, like the grammatical spelling and
Right.
grammar and all that. I'm not good at that, so having no foundation there in the language I'm fluent in, and then trying to add it
Add
here
another one.
is really hard for me because I can't. They're like, in English when you have the adverb, and I'm like, yeah, for sure. So
I remember in high school that was always really hard because isn't it you have to change literally like if it's yo, it's you, and so you have to change the ending or
yeah,
to.
there's
or,
a lot of verbs, which I guess we have a lot of verbs, right? But we don't. I don't know if you learn English through verbs like you learn Spanish. Like to work is a verb for us. Work. I am working. You work. He works. They work. But it's like a weird. It's just different.
Yeah.
And also the order of words is very different. And so it's a matter of trying to.
I think
memorize
we're
that.
the different language. I think if
100%.
any other language, but people learning English is actually, I think English is
They
one of the
say,
hardest to
yeah.
learn.
Everybody says English is the hardest. I would think it would be Mandarin. But if you started with Mandarin and learned English, it's all complicated. Learning language is hard, I think,
Yeah.
when you're older.
But I took 3 years of it in high school, but because I didn't practice it at all, I don't.
Yeah.
Like I remember bits and pieces when we did the Duolingo app.
Yeah.
I remember this.
That's where I'm at, too, is like, I wish I would have put so much more work into trying to learn another language because now
Sure.
I see how important it is and how necessary it is, and yet I just didn't. I'm going to turn this.
I think everyone gets like that when we get older.
I think it's where we live. Like if I was living in like my hometown of Ashtabula, it's like, why would I learn Spanish?
Right.
But I also grew
In California,
up
I could
Florida.
practice it. Like
Yeah.
anywhere you go, you're going to run into somebody who speaks Spanish, and you could
Sure.
actually like it wouldn't just be me and my mom like learning Spanish going back and forth, and it's like
Right.
where no one else but like in California, no matter where you go,
Sure.
you could try to, unless people who speak Spanish are like, oh Jesus, trying to learn Spanish.
Everybody I've talked to is always very kind about it. Nobody's like, oh God, another gringo trying to learn my language. It's like, no, they're like, thank you for putting in an effort, you lazy white person.
Yeah.
And I totally agree.
Yeah.
Can you, okay, wait, I have to edit that.
There's no.
It's
all in.
It's all out there.
I'm hating
girl.
on myself if it's any consolation. Okay, just wanted to clarify.
She's at Miss Molly.
And that's my Instagram is malt. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I also think it learning a new language helps perpetuate learning a new culture, helps perpetuate learning more about people that don't look like you and sound like you. And I think the more we can do that as a society, the better we'll be able to kind of connect with each other in a time where everybody is so connected and yet not connected at all. So anything you could do to learn about somebody else's world, like being on Queen of the South, pretty much everybody there speaks Spanish. So when we're just hanging out, waiting to do a shot, everybody's talking, and I'm like, for sure. And then you'll hear like some words, and you're like, I know those aren't good, so hopefully they're not talking about me. So now I want to be like, oh, you know.
Wow.
So that's what kind of motivated you. Like now it's time. I need to really.
100%.
So when you go back next season, you'll speak Spanish.
Ish.
Un poquito.
I think you'll learn a lot though.
Yeah,
What,
no,
3
yeah.
months, 4 months, like.
Yeah, and I have a couple more months, and they also talk to me in Spanish. Like they help. A bunch of the co-stars are very sweet about like they know I want to learn, so they're helping me.
Really?
Yeah, so it's, you know, the thing I think that's important is you do the classes to understand like the technical aspect, but it's also just as important to just talk to people in Spanish.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot you kind of learn what people say a lot of the time and what people like learn, like to make it about English, like you learn in classes, school, pencil, desk, but in the real world we're not really talking about those things. So it's important to, you know, talk to people about what's happening in the world so that you can kind of learn the vocabulary that people use on a day-to-day basis.
Does your character speak Spanish?
No.
No.
But the goal,
Interesting.
I was talking to Alyssa, who plays the main girl, and I was saying, like, I want to learn Spanish by the time I come back next year. And she was like, well, that'd be so great, because then Kellyanne can be like,
Bilingual?
no, Spanish, but
Yeah.
people won't, like, assume that because she's this blonde Southern belle. So then if she can understand everything you're saying, and you're, like, talking a lot of mierda, which means shit, then she hears it, and it'd be, like, a cool plot twist. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, but they know I'm working on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you feel acclimated over there? Like, do you feel like when you show up, it's like you're part of it, or do you still feel like I'm like new, or I'm?
Well, there's a weird mentality that we didn't get growing up on a soap opera, because when you're a series regular on like days, that's your family, and you see them every day or every other day, and you've been seeing them for years and years and years. So like you go to set, you know everybody, it's family, it's comfortable. When you leave that world, and then you do guest stars and co-stars and recurring and movies, and you know, you kind of get brought into somebody else's world, and then you leave, so it can feel kind of a little bit jarring. And most sets I've ever been on, I'm sure you feel the same way, is that everybody's really nice, so it's not really but there's a different energy when you know everybody, you know the hair and makeup people, you know the crew, you know Crafty, you know everybody. So for Queen, since this will be my 4th year in January, it feels like family. I know, isn't that crazy?
I feel like you just booked that.
I feel like I did too. It was like a 3-episode recurring little thing that just turned into this awesome world there. Yeah.
So they keep writing, obviously, because they love what you were doing with it.
I guess so, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember you texting me about the audition. You're like, yeah, she's this pill popping, drinking.
Dallas housewife,
yes.
ex-cowboy cheerleader. I was like, this is going to be fun. Just watching The Bachelorette to, get inspiration.
Oh, my God.
Hey, how do you feel about Pete being the new Bachelor?
I just read a thing that said he got really hurt. Like, he got a big facial.
And that hurt him?
Is he nervous? Get anxious?
He has a face injury on his face. And he had to get like 30 stitches on his face. But he's back to production, so everything's okay.
Wait, so we think this, because they're obviously like shooting right now.
Yeah, they started in
it
September.
happened during the taping? That he hurt his
they're
face?
still taping right now, apparently.
Oh, it's going to be good drama.
Well, because they
good
always have him
TV.
like riding a
Can't wait.
horse, jumping out of helicopters.
I'm sure. Well, I read this because I love the and now you've joined our Bachelor world.
Nation.
Yeah, Bachelor Nation. We're weird and intense. But it's just fun, and you get to sit down and be like, oh, my life's a mess. And you're like, but it's not that. Even though that's mostly made up and dramatic and stuff,
Right.
but still, it's so entertaining and so fun, and I don't know. But anyway, I have no idea what I was gonna say.
So he
Hurt his face.
He hurt his face.
Right.
I was asking you what you thought about him as the Bachelor.
Oh, yes. Well, I really wanted Mike to be the Bachelor.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I love
a lot
Mike.
of people are really upset about that.
I know. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So I read a book about, like, behind the scenes of The Bachelor.
Ooh.
And it's all this, like, a little bit of emotional manipulation. Like, you're putting these people in this world where you're not allowed to have a phone, no books, no magazines, you can't watch movies. Like, these people literally have to sit and talk to each other.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know what's going on in the rest of the world, which in some cases might be kind of nice for a little break, but for like 3 months, you just obsess over this one person. And so that's where all this craziness happens and people are breaking down and stuff because it's just like almost like war camp.
And there's nowhere to go. And don't they all share like bedrooms? That's the one thing about, because we love The Challenge on MTV.
Oh,
I don't know if you watch that or not, but that would be the thing I wouldn't like, is that there's like 6 twin beds in one, like you can't even have your own privacy.
Right. I don't know the
But they need to do it to
but
break people down. I could never see myself going on, though.
Right.
I was like, I would never. But then
If you're tired, all this stuff is happening, producers are coming up to you saying, no, you need to stand up for yourself, because they manipulate all of these
100%.
people.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Unreal?
Oh, I loved that show.
Amazing. And it was based, I think the original producers of The Bachelor were the ones who came up with the idea.
Well, I know a couple people that were contestants on The Bachelor and Bachelorette, and they
Really?
all say, like, some of them are like, I can't even watch because it was a little too close to home. And then you're like, well, are you being serious? Are you being a little dramatic? Like, you take everything with a grain of salt, but I think they mess those kids up.
Of course they do.
Because they're like 24, super hot,
Yeah.
super charismatic, or else they wouldn't have popped on screen.
Right.
And then they want, because what kind of the goal now isn't really to fall in love, right? It's like to create a path for a business you want to.
I believe a lot of contestants go on that trying to build the social media platforms to be able to, build whatever business it is. But I do think you're supposed to really,
or have a celebrity,
want to find love.
or come in third and have a celebrity DM you.
That's the goal, man. Tyler's living the dream with Gigi. Like, is that not the most ideal scenario from that outcome?
Oh my gosh.
The success rate of it's got to be like financially, like unless you're voted off first.
Yeah. Well,
if
even
you're
then,
hanging around, like.
Even then, the grocery store Joe, didn't he go home night 1? And because he popped so much on screen, everybody loved him, and they brought him back for Bachelor in Paradise, and he's engaged to somebody that he met there, and like it's. Oh my God. If you have it, you'll pop on the show.
Especially nowadays with social media, it's very different being on the show.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, people would be like, no, don't go on that. But you're trying to build your resume. Like,
I even feel, I don't think we're at a place where if you want to be an actor or an actress.
I mean.
And yet I hesitate
on the
even
role.
saying that. Yeah, because if you.
Opposite
How
Daniel
famous
Day-Lewis, maybe being on The Bachelor and doing all these other things, but to actually.
To maybe break in and get noticed.
And do a show and do a
got a
guest
good point.
spot or having some independent film, like 100%.
I think
That's a good point.
I wouldn't be, because I would look at it as like, oh, that's proactive as fuck.
Yeah.
But think about
point.
Hannah,
Like, way to hack.
household name. She's on Dancing with the Stars.
I know.
Like,
But now, if you want to be a household name like a Ryan Seacrest or like a really cute, personable host or, Dancing with the Stars, and now maybe you're a judge on The Masked Singer or whatever it is, like that's an amazing platform if you have the it factor. But I still don't know if, like you were saying, if you want to be opposite like Meryl Streep. But who knows?
I don't think we've seen that happen yet.
We haven't.
Because how many people have the talent to be opposite Meryl
Well,
Streep
and
in
that's the
general?
thing,
But
yeah.
if you have someone like your career and you popped on to a reality show and became famous, people aren't going to know you as that. You'll be known as that girl popularity wise, maybe if it's the Bachelor.
Right.
So many people would know you, but then people would see your actual work.
Right.
So it depends.
Well,
if you've never acted, you're not going to
Right.
get 2.5 million followers on Instagram and then go book opposite Meryl Streep.
Right.
But if you have the ingredients, it would help get you in the door. Or if they Google you, you have more to show than if you're just on The Bachelor. Like if you have a podcast or you have a clothing line or you're doing guest spots or you're friends with the YouTube clique. You know, it's I don't know. That's like the biggest. I'm like, what reality show to pop on now?
Yeah. Well, you're right.
It wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Well, and I
$150.
still think there's a little bit like I think we haven't seen somebody that's that has a theatrical resume for that reason. You know, because I think there's still a stigma. I don't know how many of our agents would be like, yeah, go on The Bachelor, like, see what happens. But maybe, I don't know. Like, everything is so, nothing really makes sense anymore, and everything's moving so fast that I hesitate to have any absolutes about anything.
Sure.
I don't think there's absolutes. I think, but I do believe that the new wave of how things are moving is why we've gone all in on it. Because it's like there was even a friend of ours who said she wanted to start a blog, and her manager was like, why are you going to start a blog? And we're like, the manager's missing the point.
Right.
Because there are people who
That's that brick and mortar mentality, that old school, like, no, you're an actor, this is all you can do. Now, do it all. My manager's constantly like, Molly, there's this new Twitch, TikTok, blah, blah, all these, just do blog, talk about football, podcasts. And I'm like, it gets, I'm like, there's so many outlets. How do you?
And you actually have to sit and learn them and put a lot into it.
Yeah.
You know, like even with podcasting, the stuff that we've learned to be able to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Listen, I give so many props to people that can do podcasts and can do TikToks on a regular basis and does all, because you really, I think there's this mentality that if you're famous on the internet, like Instagram or Twitter or whatever you're famous through, that it just kind of happened for you. But I feel like everybody will tell you, like, no, I busted my ass. Like, I started on Vine 15 years ago, and now I'm here, and I have got 6 million followers, but, like, I put in a bunch of work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the misconception, and that's part of the thing perpetuating depression, I think, in younger kids, is that it seems like everybody can do it, and it's so easy, but it takes a lot of work.
Of course.
So if that's what you want to do, you better get ready to bust your ass like you would if you wanted to be an actor. Like, you bust your ass and you don't take no for an answer. So if you want to gain notoriety through podcasts or through whatever, you got to bust your ass and do it.
Yep. I remember, too, when I first started blogging, I would follow a lot of people that inspired me, and I would always go like, man, how'd these girls do it? But they've been doing it for 10 years plus, you know?
Yeah.
Like, rode the wave, of course, but 10 years. Imagine doing anything for 10 years.
You're an expert. Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's hard not to compare. Because
Totally.
social media has created this world where all we do now is let's really break this down for a second. So our heads are tilted down, right? And we're still Homo sapien hardwiring. It's still right after the dinosaurs when humans started evolving. That's still where the hardwiring is, where the mechanics are. Mentally, we've evolved, but physically we haven't. So there's this trick in therapy where if you're going through really hard depression, it's called a fake smile, and so you pretend to smile, and it feels really frustrating and annoying and like it's not going to help, but what it's doing is your muscles are telling your brain that you're happy. So the serotonin is you're telling your brain you're happy. So if you're that's my therapist, and I have a therapist, and I love my therapist, and I will talk all day about my therapist, says that when she was working with people that suffered from really severe depression, is that would be the thing that would get the most pushback, but the thing that would provide the most help. So if you are looking down constantly, I think the emotional part is back here. So you're looking down, everything's going away. I don't even know if any of this is making sense.
No,
These are my crazy thoughts, though.
Like it.
But I'm with you. Yeah. Like,
well, you're looking down, and so everything becomes down. All your energy is down, and so and all we do is we just look down and we look at perfectly curated pictures of people or videos of people, or the 1% that's made it and they're now famous online. And so we're constantly just being, I don't look like that, I don't sound like that, I don't feel like that. I don't have that. I don't have that. And so if you're doing that all day.
And then your camera accidentally goes on and you see the
your camera turns around. You're like, oh my God.
That's why you got to. But how funny. You have to do selfies to get your head back up.
Also, maybe that's the balance.
That's the balance.
From looking
if
all
you're
day.
Gonna look here and then you're up.
We might be onto something there.
I think so.
We might be onto something there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just we're going through a transition. I don't think we realize we're going through it yet. I think we'll look back when we're fit, or the transition at this point will never stop. So maybe we'll never know.
I don't think it's gonna stop
because it's just going to keep getting more and more and more advanced. That we'll never have a moment where we look back and go, "Oh yeah, 2015 is when everything kind of hit scale with social, where like everyone's on it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think we can. I don't think any of us I think we're losing our ability to reflect. We don't do that anymore because we're constantly being bombarded with Trump's doing this and Russia's got this and this hot girl's doing this now. And so we're just like that nobody stops and goes, wait a minute, we got to be careful because remember when this happened with like Hitler or what? We're no longer spending any time studying what happened in the past, and history may not repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes. And so if we're not cognizant of both the past and the future, I think we're really gonna become divisive, and the tribalism's gonna only get worse. It's kind of a negative.
I mean,
it's really negative thought.
More selfies.
More selfies.
But even I don't think there's no return. Like even the tribalism, I don't think you're gonna. I think just the culture now has been divided, and I don't know if we're ever gonna get people all back together. But I think getting
how we get people all back together?
Kind to one another.
TikTok.
But you go to TikTok and you make dance videos.
Yeah.
I just don't know. But maybe it'll change depending on, whoever is elected in 2020 or 2024 or whatever it is. Of like, maybe. But I just think people now have seen how people are different. And I think we need to just have more conversation. People need to be kind. But are we all going to be one group again?
The only way we become one group again, I see, is if we have a threat towards us as a whole. So aliens come invade us, we'll all be real chummy. I guarantee it. Because now it's and it was interesting. I read this article about only 500 people have been up into space.
How many?
And 500 people altogether. And they talk about the experience you have when you go up in space and you look down at how small and delicate and beautiful Earth is. And you have this overwhelming feeling of we're all one down there and we all have to act like we're one and care about each other like we're one. And only having that perspective being away from Earth, do you really get that perspective? Wow. So I just thought that was really fascinating. But it's in our hardwiring to be tribal, right? To protect our own. That's just how we're hardwired. So the way we kind of combat that is through talking to other people and seeing other people in other cultures and traveling and having friends that are all different kinds of people. But how do you do that when the world is changing so quickly and your instinct is to get scared and go in? Especially the older you get, the more you fear, right? So that's why we have the baby boomers who, when the baby boomers were our age in the 70s, they were causing a fucking ruckus. They were burning their bras. They were anti-Vietnam. Yeah. All these baby boomers who were voting for Trump were bad motherfuckers in the 70s. But the older you get, the scarier your life becomes, the more you go inward. Now we have these things, and I don't even know how to use them, and I'm on the younger end. You know what I mean? So, I feel overwhelmed trying to figure out how to learn all these different ways to communicate with people, and I just want to, go get lunch. But that's not really a thing people do anymore, We
could have Skype lunches or Zoom lunches.
Exactly.
We're going to meet in person.
Yeah, we have to, interact physically? No, I don't think so.
I don't know about that. And I also think, too, there's something about, I think the thing that can save us is the fact that because I've said this before, but if you live in, the Midwest somewhere and 95% of your entire 10-mile radius is all white people, and there is no perspective or diversity. Yeah. And generation after generation has just been this one way. Everyone feels like an outsider if you never leave that 10-mile radius. Sure. The only outlet you have to the world is what you watch on TV, what you see on social. But I think what was on TV for so many years wasn't diverse.
No. Not at
So
all.
how were the younger generations, if you had parents that thought a different way, how are you going to think differently? These kids upcoming now are going to have black superheroes, women superheroes. It goes on and on. So I think it's going to start bringing the world together if you look at it in a positive way. Right now we see all the negative, but I think it's just going through it. But I think that's the only way to show perspective, because unless you live out in like somewhere like Los Angeles, it's like the internet. Los Angeles is the biggest melting pot ever, so it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
But when I first moved here in 2006 from a small town, Ashtabula, which was black and white,
a little jarring.
it was just, I learned about all these new cultures that I didn't even know existed.
Oh wow.
So I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Like I never heard of Armenian.
Yeah.
Then there's Persian Armenian.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I worked with someone who was Persian Armenian at American Eagle, and I was like, never heard of that when I was 18 years old.
Yeah. Wow.
So it gave me a perspective. And then one of my friends that I worked with as well was Muslim, and I was learning about like different religions. But that most of my growing up was white, black, Catholic. Couple people were out. There was like maybe one kid in my school who was gay, who was like out and talked about it. But it was like all of that was foreign to that area. So I have empathy for different groups. Not that it's right, the bigoted and racism. Of course, that's not right. But I have empathy that people just don't understand the perspective. We live in LA or New York or San Francisco, and you're just like talking mad crap to someone on Twitter who's 29 years old, who doesn't understand.
I remember when Trump was first, when we found out he was going to be our president, and I was hysterical, right? Because this it was just a very scary feeling. And my dad had me read this book called Hillbilly Elegy by this brilliant author. I'm blanking on his name right now, and that's killing me. But he is this brilliant guy from nothing, Ohio. Had no money. Everybody that he knew and loved was addicted to pain pills and alcoholics and on welfare. And it talks about his journey coming from that quote unquote Trump world and then going into kind of the more progressive world, and how we have to, we can't just sit here, when I say we, the one side can't just sit there on their high horse and go, well, how dare you not do this, this, and this, without really taking a look at these people that we've forgotten about as a society and kind of addressing some of the systemic issues below it. It's just very complicated. It's so easy to be like, well, all of these people that voted for this, screw them. But it's so much more complicated than that.
That was the best way to put it. Is it's very, very complicated.
It's just
all
so
the
complicated.
policies, it's very complicated. And the issue is when people say all. Not all Trump voters are this. Not all people who are left are this. I know a few Trump voters
who I love.
It's the extremes, and people can have that discussion, but it's when they lump it is when it's like, well, all women or all men or all left or all... No.
Yes.
Some.
Now, there's a group of people on the left and the right that suck. There's a group of people in everything that suck. Like, there are people on the left that's the higher than thou side that just suck. They just suck. Right. But not all people on the left suck. And there's people on the right that are nuts and they suck. But not all of them suck. A lot of it is they're just scared. Yeah. And if you really break down the socioeconomical issues here, the government has kind of forgotten about the middle class and below. So all of the coal industry, the blue collar jobs, the steel workers, the car manufacturers, all those jobs are becoming obsolete because we have robots now, technology. So we don't really need those people. But if your great grandpappy did it and your grandpappy did it and your dad did it and you do it, but now there's no job for you or your kids, and technology is blowing up, and you have people yelling at you on the news, so you go, I'm going to vote for somebody who says they're going to drain the swamp and they're going to protect me because for some reason I relate to their charisma. You don't really see why they wouldn't vote for that person. Right. And what Trump does such a good job of, and he's trying to do this with Biden right now, is not talking about any of his own things, but he makes the opponent so gross and yucky that you go, well, I hate to vote for Trump, but I don't want to vote for... That's what he did with Hillary. Hate to vote for Trump, but I don't want to vote for a crooked Clinton. And if you just... He says simple easy things, and he beats them to death. Crooked, criminal. So by the time, 4 years have gone by, you're like, yeah, crooked, criminal, Trump. And if the left wants to get anything done, they need to all simplify. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be...
All they do is talk about Trump, though, and they're giving him more publicity. And
exactly.
It's like, he won the presidency. I mean, like, he knew what he was doing. Like, not everything that he, was saying is, people agree with. But, I mean, he rallied, 50 million people?
He understands technology. He understands the power of... What's Twitter? 120 letters, 180 letters, whatever it is. Yeah. Simple, to the point. Bad. China. Trade war. Rapist. Like, whatever his word of the day is, he just says it over and over and over and over again. And so that's all you hear in the back of your mind. So my dad and I came up with this really interesting... So I don't know if you're allowed to put anything political in this or not, obviously. But the only way to get Trump out is to vote him out. Like, the impeachment thing, all this stuff, while it's necessary, none of it's going to go past the Senate anyway. So if we came up with this movement called VTO, and we called it veto, and it's vote Trump out, and that's all anybody talked about, is just vote him out, vote him out, vote him out. Well, Trump doesn't talk about policies. Well, I don't have any idea what he wants to do for me and my family or my friends and my loved ones. Mm-hmm. No, but none of us know what he wants to do for us. If we just focus on getting him out, then we can talk about other issues. So I thought that was like a cool, the answer to MAGA would be veto.
I remember even Trump himself said, he goes, the only person that's going to be able to beat me is an unknown person.
Yeah,
and
he's right.
Andrew Yang. That's why it's so interesting.
I hope so, but...
And the thing with Trump, like, on the conservative perspective of it, is that there's not one thing in 4 years or 3 years that he has done that has done well that has been put on the news in celebration of a president doing something nice, doing something great. It's all just been, that's why the whole fake news thing, I'm saying that's the conservative perspective of it. But he has done good things. He has done things that people don't like. But for me, I was never political before this. Like, I was kind of like teasing you because you were more political than me, like, years ago. So we were always like joking around. And I never really looked into it. So I didn't have enough knowledge to ever feel
And could you argue because where you came from? Did y'all talk about it in Ashtabula?
It was never a discussion. Like, I don't even know anything. So I moved out and I was like, I didn't know. But when I started learning in like 2015, 2016, I quietly learned for 2 years, 3 years, because I also see you get your head bit off if you don't have the information. And I'm like, I want to look on the left and on the right and in the middle. I want to understand where both groups are coming from because we're split. So, and I haven't really I came out saying I was a supporter of Andrew Yang, but not as a Democrat or Republican or anything. Just like, I enjoyed that he was touching on the automation ideas. That's the reason he got elected. Donald Trump got elected because he was going to promise to bring jobs back. And Andrew Yang's talking, the robots are coming. We need to do something else, and that's how I get in the freedom dividend. But all his policies are great. He's thinking about people first, and I became obsessed with him. Even if he wasn't running for president and he was just like a podcast host or something, I would listen to Andrew Yang because he's talking to me because I understand this new world of technology. And that's what concerns me about the Biden and Sanders. It's and Elizabeth. Like, I'll go on the record by saying this is just my opinion. I don't think Harris, Biden, Warren, or Sanders can beat Donald Trump.
I don't think so either.
Because they're going to Harris spends her whole time on the debate stage going like Donald Trump sucks. People are like, listen.
Yeah, we know. So
Andrew Yang can get some Trump voters. So we have to see if the Democrats will even allow Andrew Yang to be the representative.
I think the two candidates that could get in there and really Obama-esque our political world, and that's make our political world bipartisan again, because the most important, our founding fathers created left and the right for a reason. It's important to have two strong parties, not an insane party and a pussy party, which is what it is right now, let's be honest. We need two badass groups now, and we don't have that anymore. And the only two candidates I think that can bring just this new hope energy is Yang and Buttigieg. But I think both of them are too young. I think that's because we don't think so. Because if Trump can be in office, I don't care what your age is, but we're not the ones that vote. And let's be honest, millennials, you're not voting, and I don't know why. And that's the problem, because the baby boomers will sit in line for 7 hours and they'll vote, and they're the ones voting for the Bidens or the Bernies or the Trumps. And our generation and below is just like, well, why my vote doesn't matter. I don't care. And I don't know if you've watched the show The Politician yet on Netflix.
No, but I've heard about it.
But it's so amazing.
Really?
And one of the episodes, it basically talks about our political system through the prism of a high school, a kid in high school running for president.
It's with Ben Platt, yeah?
Who's unbelievable. Oh, the whole show is fantastic. But they do a whole episode on this guy called The Voter. And he's just this 16-year-old kid that he's just horny all the time. He's just looking at boobs and butts, and he's not really paying attention in class. And both of the political candidates running for president try and reach him, going like, what can I do to help you? And the one person is like this very beautiful girl, and she's like, we can, like, we'll hang out. And the other person is like, I care about what you want to get done in this school. And he finally opens the kid up, and he kind of talks a little bit about what he would want. And then, so you're like, all right, well, this person made some leeway because he put in the effort. And then the next scene is the kids at home eating dinner with his family, and they're like, the election was today. Did you vote? And he's like, no, I don't care. And that's the frustrating thing right now is we all want to sit and complain on our technology devices about like how angry we are, how happy we are, whatever it is. But the only thing you can actually actively do is vote. And none of us want to do that.
I think it's really crazy though, not to keep bringing Yang back, but he really is reaching the millennials and seeing them show up for all the rallies. And just like,
because the conservative side of me, of the pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of thing, really is instilled in me. Because that's why I never get into the debates, because I just go, for me personally, I don't care who wins, because I know that I'll be responsible for my own life. That I have to, if the healthcare is this way and I got to do this to have it, then that's what I have to do. I can complain for 4 years, which I know there's a lot of.
You're the 20%. Of the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people do all the work. 80% just kind of, JFK said, ask not what this country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We need to find that again, because we all just want stuff done for us. We want you to hand us money. We want you to hand us sympathy. We want you to we don't want to do anything anymore. So I understand that mentality, absolutely, but you are a part of the 20%.
Of wanting to, and I just want to see, but that's the other reason that I enjoyed Yang, and I enjoy Yang is because though it does seem like a socialist program to give everyone $1,000 with the freedom dividend, I think for people who are undecided, I'm not trying to sway anybody, I'm not getting into a political thing here, but this is what I enjoyed, is that I looked at it as, would $1,000 a month benefit me? Would $1,000 a month benefit Alyssa, my cousins, my family? And when he talks about people who are, like, his wife is at home with their 2 kids, one who's autistic, and her value and the GDP is 0. Even though her work is so important, being a stay-at-home mom, taking care of kids. There's also people in my family who are school teachers who love what they do, but are having kids now, and
they're just not making enough money.
They're making enough, but they want to stay home. But imagine if they each got $1,000, and now that person could stay home with the 2 kids, or the single mom doesn't have to have 3 jobs; she can just have 1. I see the $1,000 helping every single person.
So here is my question with getting the $1,000. Are we also teaching you that you don't have to do anything to earn it? Because for the people that work hard and mean well, an extra $1,000, we're going to figure out how to utilize that money to our best. But 80-20 rule, what are 80% of people going to do if we're now like, we're going to give you $1,000 a month?
It's essentially, it's $1,000 is not enough to live off of, but it's enough to give you food and give you that. So it's like, not everyone's going to quit their job. Right. Like someone who's a school teacher or something goes, oh, I want to raise a kid. $1,000's not enough to quit your job and stay home. But if your husband works or it's switched,
it'll help.
And people who are making the whole minimum wage argument. If somebody's making, if that doesn't change, and someone's working 40 hours a week, only bringing in $2,200 a month, but now they basically get a $12,000 a year raise with the freedom dividend. Yeah. So he calls it capitalism that starts at $1,000, not at 0, so that your basic needs are met, from food and this and that. And it's not by taxing everyday people.
Where do we get that money?
He wants to do it from, and Jack Dorsey from Twitter, Elon Musk, these big tech guys are already endorsing him that it's a good idea.
Interesting.
It's essentially all these jobs are being automated away, and they have these robots doing the job, so they're not paying thousands of workers. These tech companies are saving all this.
So the tech companies are going to be responsible.
So the tech companies, where if you do a Facebook ad or a self-driving car mile, like everything, we all get a piece of, as if we're an investor in America, and they're just giving us $1,000 a month dividend of all the technological advancements. So I'm sitting back going, the day that robots are bringing us Postmates, we can go, well, wow, like, I'm going to make money from that.
Circle, yeah.
And it allows people to be more creative. And that's what I like too, because this whole working is going to be gone in 20 years. These jobs that everyone works, because he even
20
talks
years,
about
5. I mean, everything's moving so freaking fast.
All the retail workers, all the truck drivers, like all this stuff is going away. So what are all these people going to do? But if we had an extra $1,000, or if families had an extra $2,000, you could maybe start a business, or you could go paint and sell paint, like be more creative, so we're not just so like stressed about money. So he sold me on his idea, and I've just been following him, and every other policy he has is amazing too. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But that's my 2 cents on it. I'm just a real big supporter. He's made it to the debate stage again, so he's going to be on the debate stage in October, or this month, next week. And I
loved too at the last debate on his Instagram, getting ready for it. He was like playing basketball on skateboard. Like he's this cool little. I just love him.
No, you relate
relatable
to him.
Totally.
He's a human.
Exactly.
Like you feel, and it's interesting. This whole negativity around the idea of socialism is very interesting to me. I feel like the right has kind of weaponized that term and made it evil. And if you break down countries that do practice socialism, it's the issue with it is there's a ceiling, right? So everybody gets all the things, but there's really nothing to the thing that's amazing with capitalism is LeBron James, who comes from nothing, can be a billionaire NBA player. Now, he's obviously a very specific case, but anybody can do anything because this is a capitalistic country. And with socialism, everybody gets education and healthcare and but like there's no drive to achieve at the top because there's a ceiling. So, but none of the people running for office right now are really, nobody's saying I'm socialist. They're saying I want to take there's some good ideas here with equal everybody gets education and everybody gets healthcare, and let's take those things and then let's keep the competitive capitalism, but let's combine this. And I feel like the right has kind of made it like a dirty word, and they've made, all of the women in Congress are all incoming socialists and Bernie's a socialist, and it's like that's not really what's being discussed here. And I think the most frustrating thing is because you hear the news yell something at you 24/7, it's hard to reach people that have decided somebody's socialist, or we need a wall or whatever it is. It's trying to create this dialogue with people who don't agree with you, and how do you go about doing that?
But I feel everyone's gonna have an angle. It's politics,
Definitely.
Which is crazy.
It's sales. I mean, it's exactly. It's just sales. Like my analogy is always like I could sit here and pitch you on why you should work out at home with the in-home workout, or why you should go to the gym, and 2 great salesmen could sit and battle out the pros and cons of working out from home or working out at the gym. This saves time. This is cheaper. This is more motivating. This is easier. But it's just they're selling, and that's why for us, bring it back to the voter. In today's world with so much information on our phone, research both sides. Learn so you're not told. Every single thing I speak on, it's nothing I was told. I read from both, and then I like to make up my decision as a person. But if so many people just tune into one channel, get all their information, then everyone else sounds evil because they've sold you on why that's not good. I see both sides on every topic.
Well, that's why a bipartisan is so important. You need 2 strong sides, so you can go, oh, okay, well, I see why that's a good point. Okay, so and
you'll lean towards one or the other, and what's important to you. If this person's going to vote for free healthcare, but this one's not, and I go, well, for me personally, like someone's gonna be like, I need free healthcare. Like that's my one. Or someone might, they're gonna vote for who they want. But we're all getting there. I'm more on the hopeful, optimistic side. I know things sound negative and everyone's at each other's throats, but
well, the pendulum's going to swing. It's just swinging a lot faster than it used to.
Yeah.
But as scary as it feels right now, like, Trump will get, even if it takes 4 more years, he'll get out of there, and then the Dems will do what they always have to do, and that's clean up the mess the right did. And that way the Dems don't ever get to do anything because they're too busy cleaning up what Bush put us into Iraq, and then we'd start all over again, and, whatever. It's another story for another day, offline. But, but it's interesting because I don't even enjoy, and, I love politics. I grew up with a mom who took me to anti-gun rallies at, 8, and my dad was always very he leaned more fiscally on the right and emotionally on the left. And but together as a duo, they were so informed and so intellectual, and so I grew up loving politics, and I love talking about it and talking where we came from. And the thing that kind of sucks now is there's no integrity on the news. So Fox News and CNN, which I used to love to watch, is just all I feel like they're doing is yelling at me. And I watch Fox News too, just because it's important to see everything. But my God, the Laura Ingrams of the world are just saying mean, hateful things, scary, mean, hateful things. And the left is just kind of not doing they're saying their version of mean, scary, hateful things. So it's not even, where do you get your information now?
You have to move online.
Well, no, I do move online, but, the older generation isn't going to. My dad has no social media. He reads the paper and stuff, so he's able to, and he knows how to open an article, so he's fine. But most people of the baby boomer generation, they're not going to go online and get their stuff. They're going to listen to Fox News. They're going to listen to CNN.
But even online, though, there are people who are conservative that are going to do the same thing, who are going to do the clickbaity titles to get people to go. So it's more all about the advertising and eyeballs than what, unfortunately, people are saying. No one's going to say, oh, keep the $5 billion this year. We'll make an ad revenue. I'm going to talk about what the average American should actually do to vote. But no, I need the clicks. I need people here. We're competing with YouTube and Netflix now. My 6 o'clock news, if people aren't eating supper, how I grew up, eating supper at 6, watching the news. It's I think it's just all about how people's eyeballs.
And so we got to be more and more dramatic, right? Because all we want is your attention. So, and you don't have a lot of it. TikTok videos are 15 seconds. Instagram's 8. Twitter is 120 letters. Yeah. You got to say shocking shit. And that's why Trump is the best at what he does, is because he says the scariest version of the scariest thing, or the most simplified version of the scariest thing. And everything he says makes sense. You know what he's...
It absorbs real easy, quick.
Minus the mean stuff. Aren't there times though that he is funny?
For sure.
He's really funny.
For sure.
I'll laugh out loud at some of the stuff he does. I go,
he's ridiculous.
Clever.
Bastard. I have a lot of savage business savvy friends that take a lot from him as far as just how to get shit done in their perspective jobs. The mentality you kind of have to have, this narcissism mentality you kind of have to try, people look up to very small parts of what he does because he is the best at what he does. Obviously, I've never seen anybody with the charisma and the ability to get out of things and not have anything stick to him like this man. I don't, he's fascinating to watch. And all the feminist angry part of me is no, fuck this guy. But I can definitely step outside and be some of the things that he does are hysterical, and he's an idiot. So it's just this big spectrum of emotion at all times.
I know.
Well, let's take a detour from the politics.
No, let's beat it to death.
I could actually talk about it for hours because there's a few friends that I really feel are not a few that I don't know how many people are into politics. I don't bring it up. Someone like you, I know, is educated, but there's so many people I do know that I have no idea if they're into politics or not, so I kind of leave it off the table. But because we've always talked about it, I wanted to just touch on it a little bit. Yeah.
I love talking politics with Drea.
Yes. Well, because Andrea is one of our best friends, and she is, I don't know why I'm explaining to the camera. You can cut to this. She is a student of history. So she can foresee things that are going to happen. Oh here's a fascinating thing. The invention of the printing press was like the invention of social media, because the Catholics kind of ran the show, right? And they're like, we have one copy of the Bible and here's what it says. And everybody's like, okay, cool, we believe you because you're the church. And that then the printing press came along and they're like, everybody gets a copy of the Bible. Then all of a sudden people are like, I have a few questions here because you did not, I'm interpreting this completely differently from what you, and then it was this crazy up.
When was this? What year was that?
What, the 1700s? Oh, God, no, before then, 1500. Whenever that industrial revolution happened, changed everything. And so you can literally create parallels from now that everybody's a critic on social media, everybody has access. If I want to believe in lizard people, I can go online and find a whole crew of people that believe in lizard people. And so it's the same mentality of the printing press and everybody having this new sector of information. But if you don't know to go back and look, you have no map to figure out kind of where
everyone's like, wait,
things are going. Yeah.
Huh. Very interesting. Andrea too lives in the perfect place.
Oh, I know.
Being an American, loving everything in DC.
100%.
You went there and you saw her,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I did. I did. Well, we were going to a wedding, and he kept saying it's in Virginia, it's in Virginia, it's in Virginia. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And then I land, and I'm like, that's the Lincoln Mem. Oh, shit, Andrea, hi, I'm here, let's go. I felt so bad.
Oh, you didn't know. We were there in, June? And she took us all around the city and showed us everything.
1440. I
think that's right. I kind of just Googled, looked at a couple things, but anyway.
1440.
But yeah, no, sorry, I didn't interrupt us. I just wanted to finish that thought.
No, I was just, remember when Drea took us around in her little pink bug convertible, perfect for her. Showed us everything. You don't really like sightseeing, but I love the history of it.
Oh, for sure.
You know, I could stay in Smithsonian's all day. I went to one by myself. You were, I think, at the event. It's just so fun.
Totally. No, I love learning. I'll go to all the things. I like to learn all the things. That's another interesting thing. Only in the last decade have you been able to pick up a little computer and be like, when was the printing press? 10 years ago, 15 years, 15 years ago? When
I'd say even 25 now.
20? No, I didn't have a phone until I was in high school.
Oh,
phone in 2006,
to be able to
I had a
Google
sidekick.
things.
Okay. It was very slow working, but the internet worked.
Okay, so probably 2005 and before, if we would just not know, and we'd just have to be cool with not knowing. Or I'd have to go get an encyclopedia and look up
go to the library.
Or call or phone a friend. Does Who Wants to Be a Millionaire now have, instead of phone a friend, just Google? Use phone.
You can use your phone. I'd like to use my phone for $200.
They're like, just save your time. It's right.
Save a friend is Siri.
Yeah. Hey Siri, where's the printing press?
No one has friends anymore, right? And yet we're all talking to thousands of people.
Why did I Google it? Let me see if Siri will tell me.
But that's...
Hey Siri, what year was the printing press invented?
A printing press is a mechanical device for applying pressure to an inked surface resting upon a print medium, thereby transferring the ink. Do you want me to keep reading?
No, thank you. It was 1438 on the...
Okay, here's another question. Do you guys feel... I don't have an Alexa in my house because she freaks me out. But I have a lot of people that I know that have Alexa controls their home.
Yeah.
When you ask her to do something for you and she does it, do you feel weird not saying thank you?
I'm always polite.
I always say, Siri, thank you. And she goes, you're welcome.
Because what if they come back when they take over and they're like, you were horrible.
Who knows? I got great social or electronic karma.
Or they'll look at us as weak.
Oh, for sure.
Molly Burnett always said thank you. She's weak and kind.
or a target.
She needs to be destroyed.
There's this article, I feel like I sent it to you a long time ago, but it's this writer, Tim Urban. You guys would love him. Yeah. He's able to take these unbelievably complex theories and break them down into a way that everybody can understand. So he did one about artificial intelligence and the idea of once we create artificial super intelligence, which right now we're I don't even remember the term. It's artificial
general intelligence,
basic
right now,
intelligence. Yeah, we're barely off of basic though. We're not you can't ask Siri to go put your makeup on. Our technology can do one thing. Mm-hmm. But the idea of artificial superintelligence, once we create that monster, you can't come back from that. Because if you program it to be reliable, the technology behind that, we could like kill ourselves off in an hour.
And self improving.
Like
we
can become better. Yes, and like Elon. So Elon Musk kind of snagged him up because he loves him, and so I believe Tim Urban helps working for Elon Musk, and he was saying it's possible that we could become live forever in our lifetime. By this.
I'm on that train.
Yeah, I hear this stuff all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm a believer. I think we have a shot.
I think I am too. Everything moves so fast that I mean, they're growing parts of our bodies in labs and stuff. Like, I don't. It's hard to wrap your mind around.
What was Tim saying then about it?
Well, all right, hold on. I have this. I brought this up. But if you guys want to talk about anything else while I bring this up.
Is it an article?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the one thing we can't do is videos because of copyright stuff.
Oh, yes. No, it's an article. So this just shows you kind of where, I don't know if you can see, like how history has moved like really slowly. So the printing press came out, and then the the wheel, the wheel's around forever.
Wow.
But we're present day. So our trajectory of where we're going to go
look at that.
Is real scary.
Oh, yeah. Well, because things are, now
we can't even conceptualize what it's going to look like because we're in so uncharted territory. We have no idea the ability of things that we're.
Well, we're spoiled.
Yeah.
Like I look at there's times that my face recognition, because it's like dark or I got something I'm like eating, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't recognize my face because there's food in my cheek. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Dude, it recognizes your face.
Yes.
That's insane.
And opens only for you. So I just feel like all these filters, all this technology, we're taking it all for granted until they can teleport me somewhere. Then I'd be blown away today.
Yes.
But we'll be able to get faster and faster to the point when we do teleport, we're going to go, oh, cool.
Yes.
It's like face recognition.
Yes.
No one cares. That's insanely awesome.
I know. We can fly in a which comedian talks about the ability to fly in a little metal tube in the air and like have Wi-Fi, and people be like, the Wi-Fi sucks up here, and it's like, you're in a small tube flying up in the air contacting people down below, and we just don't. You're right, we're so spoiled, we don't even.
I get mad on the airplane. I'm like, what the heck?
I do too.
It's not working.
Yeah, I know. It's so here, this is the more accurate graph of human progress. That's scary.
Is that you, Molly?
That's me. Just about to step into fucking hell.
Yeah, it's.
Wow.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I think future generations are really going to look back at our time and go, like, wow, they used to go on the airplanes to get from LA to New York, and they sat on the airplane for X amount of hours.
Yes.
Everything's going to be so freaking fast.
Yes.
Now when we were ordering, like, this couch that we ordered, not this one behind us, we're selling it. We've talked about it in every podcast. People are like, enough with the couch.
I promise it's coming soon.
They've got a great couch over here, guys, if anybody's interested.
They have. When it says 5 to 7 business days to ship something, I go, are you fucking insane?
Yeah.
5 to 7 days.
You mean it's not coming tomorrow?
If I order by noon on Amazon, some shit I get by 8 p.m. that same day. You want me to wait 7 days, and that doesn't include weekends?
Yeah.
So we just have...
Well, and they're also talking about this horrible pressure these Amazon employees are under to try and get you your fucking package by like 7:30. That accidents are happening. All kinds of crazy shit is happening because these poor people are under so much pressure to try and get us our fucking towels by noon or something.
Oh my gosh.
They ordered by noon.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Yes. I can't.
Hit the kid. It's not worth it. No.
Roll it up. I really hope people aren't suffering. I doubt it.
Yes.
No, I don't. I honestly don't. Who knows? I'd love to actually have if you're an Amazon worker and you work in a fulfillment center and you live in LA, I'd love to have you on the podcast to hear. I'm sure there's disgruntled and there's people like, no, it's chill as hell. We play ping pong. Others are like, we have a band on our wrist that shocks us if we take a pee break.
Well, there's another South Park episode that breaks down Jeff Bezos and Amazon and all the like people that never go out into the sun, and so they're all like kind of deformed because they have to work in these factories.
my God.
It's
You
awful.
hear some horror stories about it, though.
Well, now machines have come in and take over, so these people go out into the world and they don't know what to do because they've never experienced life because they've been it's this crazy. South Park is so brilliant. They're so but this is really interesting. So, let's see if I can figure out how to explain this. If we were to take a guy from the 1500s, we have a time traveling machine. We take him he's in the year 1500, and we bring him to 1750 and show him around. The guy would be, wait, no, I don't think I did this right. I'm sorry. If we took a guy from 1750 and took him to 2015, it would be so different he would die. Like, his brain would be so shocked. It's a unit of measurement. It's called I'm serious. I feel like I should have probably understood this more before I tried to bring it up. But it's a unit, a die progress unit. The level at which you are so shocked by the information, you fucking die. Oh. So 1750 to 2015 is how long it would need to take. So if we wanted to take somebody from before 1750 to have the same level of progress to where he would die, you can't go to the 1500s, right? You can't go the same, like 250 or whatever that is. You would have to go to 12,000 BC.
Wow.
To 1750. That's how long it took for things to progress, for you to be so shocked you die. And now 1750 to 2015, and they're what Tim Urban talks about is that if you go to the next rate could be like 2050. From 2015 to 2050, you would die because it would be so dramatically different. And it's
we're
just
only
kind
gonna
of
be 60.
We'll be living through that.
If we're alive, if we're around.
I think the most dramatic thing about this whole change is going to be when we're older, whether we're the generation or our kids or I don't know, but when they do figure out how to live forever, the poor generation right before that didn't make the cut.
I talked to my dad. Do you watch Black Mirror?
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch San Junipero?
Yes, it's one of my favorite
It's one of mine, too. It's just so beautifully done. But I remember asking...
It'll come back to me. I've watched it. I just don't know which one it is.
It's the lesbian couple where if you die, you can go into that world. Your consciousness
it's a really beautiful
can go into that world. And you live forever, essentially, unless you want to disconnect or I don't know how. Hopefully there's no energy surge in that database, and then everybody goes. I don't know what. They have a backup generator or something, but... I asked my dad, I was like, so we don't know if there's heaven or hell.
Right.
So obviously my mom has already passed away. Let's say this technology comes where we can all kind of live together and my brother and I are married, we have kids, they have kids. Would you want to go continue to live in this new world in the cloud that they've created? Or would you take a shot at seeing if you could be with mom again? He's like, I'd go see mom again. Wow. And I think there's something a little bit scary about playing God like that, especially since we don't understand. Are you snoring, you little munchkin?
But I think that's what would kill us,
yes.
knowing that.
Yes.
I think if we get to the point where we can actually, if we could ever put a little chip on our brain or whatever it is that allows you to just, I'm going to go visit mom.
Yeah.
Just like she's down the street in a house.
Yeah.
And you can go there and you're in this thing where no one has a body, but everyone's talking. You're like, wait a second, what the... That's going to redefine everything we ever thought. It's just we're living in it right now. So you still have all these different belief systems, but nothing's come to fruition yet in the sense of, modern day proof. Yeah. So who knows?
No, but we don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Crazy, though?
It's so. I'm sure that you could find people that say they do know. There are a lot of near-death experience people that say they do know. It's fascinating, but no.
Some of the stories too of these young kids that are like 3-4 years old and they have all of these details, well, maybe a little bit older.
No, they're young too.
Living a past life and like being in the war, and I've read so many crazy stories. I'm like, how could they know that?
Yeah.
Unless
there's so much
fake,
we don't know. So that's why when people put so much stuff, I think religion, if you strip away all of the money in the church and the patriarchy and all just the concept that there's more to life than what we know, and that love is the overwhelming thing that brings us all together, I think is such a beautiful concept. But when people start getting weird about religion, that's where you lose me, because you don't know, I don't know. Yeah. So why are we making each other? Why are we fighting over this?
Like no one truly knows.
Yeah.
Science proven.
Right.
you know?
Right. Well, and what do they say in The Haunting of Hill House, which was such an amazing show. I don't know if you guys watched it. Yeah.
We watched some of it and then never
God,
finished.
it's so good. And I hate scary things. I hate them. And it was so good. But he was talking about the paranormal and that it's not really paranormal. It's just something we don't understand yet. But we call it paranormal. But it just, back in the day, they thought the sun and the stars were like, you know, whatever, I don't know whatever we thought the sun was when it went down, like, we're going to die. Every night they thought you were going to die, and then it comes back, you know, because we just didn't, now we know, oh, that's the sun. But it's just our inability to understand something. I don't know.
What's your thoughts? Have you ever gone to a medium?
I want to. We talked about going to a medium.
Yeah, we should do it.
I'm so down. Because I'm very science. My brain is very science. So I hated going to church. I never really believed in anything. I always would get frustrated because I felt like people would try and force things on me. And I need tangible evidence. And then I lost my mom. And I went through this whole period of desperately trying to understand, like, she's not just gone, right? Because, like, fuck, I don't want to think that way. Yeah. And I saw this show called The OA.
Yeah. And
I got really into near-death experiences. And I found these scientists who created these these like 100-question questionnaires that people who had gone through NDEs would answer. And it's all anonymous, and they ask questions a million different ways so they can tell who's lying. And there's no notoriety. You're not going to be famous for having a near-death. Like, it's just all anonymous. And the thing they found, no matter your age, your race, your religion, your gender, your whatever it is, everybody was kind of saying the same thing. And so that piece of information tells me that there is something, there's more to it. Now, whether you find a medium who is being honest or is trying to make money or is just a really good read of people's body energy so they can kind of fake their way through things. The jury's still out, but I'm definitely open to.
Have you guys ever heard of how in hospital bedrooms they'll have stuff up high on the shelves for people who have, like, out-of-body experiences to see if they all can explain what they saw? Yeah. It's just, like, really interesting. And then, of course, scientifically, people will say, oh, you thought you had, you know, an out-of-body experience as a hallucination, whatever it may be. But if you can see something up, like...
Well, and then you'll have these amazing tales of these people that talk about, I've been through this near death, and, you know, they go on the Oprah Book Club, and they do all these tours, and then a decade later, it's like, oh, it's all fake. And you're like, dang
Come on.
So, you know, I feel like it's I don't know. I'm definitely open to the idea that people are in tune with different things.
Because and I think it'd be interesting too, you know, just to see your experience or all of our experience. Because I've never been to a medium, but I've seen, like, if you watch that show, that Tyler Henry show, with all the celebrities, and, like, he reads, and it's like, yeah, you can look things up, but it's like everyone is blown away, like everyone's crying, and like you know what I mean?
Because we also know TV magic, like.
Sure.
How do you fake that? But if we all went and you were able to communicate, or your mom was able to communicate, and it's something you're like, no one ever knew. Here's my question that has not been answered yet. Would that not become your number one interest? That if you're like, only my mom would know this is 100% real, she just communicated with me, I am 100% sure that she is there, that there is something else. Mm-hmm. I see this all the time on the show, and then people move on to the next question of asking about their career or something else. I go, wait a minute. You just got confirmation that, like, wouldn't you, like, not just leave and go, I feel like, wouldn't you be interested in, like, well, what
Explore
the fuck?
more, yeah.
I would definitely have a lot more questions. I also feel when you lose a love object like that, you in order to move on psychologically, you not necessarily compartmentalize, but you become at peace with something. So I feel like even if I were to go to a medium and they were to tell me a whole bunch of things that only my mom would know, I'd be fascinated and I would know more. And I'd probably go back and do more. Like, I would expand on my curiosity about it, but I don't think I would obsess.
Yeah. Maybe those people do. I guess that's interesting, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well...
You might go crazy, though, if you
because if you then now what do? Do I quit acting to go, like, find, like, my mom's soul? I don't, you know, you're like... Yeah. I also... the human brain itself is just a machine, right? And a lot of people talk about how you aren't your brain. You are the soul, your entity, who you are, the love, who you are is different from who your brain is and what your brain tells you are. Because your brain is really only a machine that is able to describe things through words that our brains have created. And that's a lot of the people that had gone through near-death experiences talk about how they can't really articulate what they saw or how they felt because they said there isn't a word that can describe this. And so I try not to put too much stock into what my brain would tell me in that scenario. More of, I think I'd feel immense relief.
Sure.
Yeah.
Unless she's like, yeah, your mom's stuck. Then now we're going on a journey to get my mom's soul unstuck, right? Like, if it's something awful like that, now that's my new obsession. But if it's like, yeah, I'm good, I love you, here's A, B, and C that only I would know, I'd be like, fucking shit. And then you kind of...
The relief that you're going to meet her again.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. So I've never asked somebody who had, like, in that regard.
Don't you think, too, that there's such a reason that in this lifetime we don't know what happens?
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be a reason. For whatever reason we're here, whatever we have to learn.
We're not evolved yet to understand
I know,
it.
but it's
fascinating.
It's unreal.
I don't know why we don't. Well, because then you also have, is it Moore's Law? The idea that we will never be contacted by an outside intelligence because once you get to a certain level, you kill yourself off. You become too curious that you... Like, that's the idea that there's probably advanced life all over the universe, but that once you get to the level where you've gone too far, artificial superintelligence.
So when you
or
learn that the aliens are playing a video game of us,
yeah,
well,
yeah, exactly. You're
out.
like, or you've created this machine that can self-learn and it feeds off carbon, and we're made out of carbon, and so we kill ourselves off in an hour because it gets released and there's all these weird, crazy technological things, but I think it's interesting that we don't know anything. Yeah. And yet we spend all of our time fighting people because, I mean, think about the wars that religion has.
I think it's the most. I think more
by far
wars were
the
started
most.
over religion, right?
All wars basically are money and religion, but before money was even a thing, it was always religion. And to this day, centuries and centuries, it's always, I'm Catholic, I'm Jewish, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Buddhist, and we just fight over it. But, none of us know anything, so just stop it. But you can't, because also faith, people tie their identity to their faith. And if all you have is, because you come from nothing, and so all you have is church and your faith and your hope that there's more or whatever, like, that becomes a very personal thing. So it's all really complicated.
Boy, oh boy.
It's weird. I can sit here and tell somebody, like, I don't like mustard, and if they do, there's no emotion.
Right.
People are like, okay.
Right.
If I'm like, I believe in this God, or I believe in this politician, or I believe this about money, those seem to be the three things that are so ingrained in people's egos and psyches that it becomes personal.
Yeah.
And it's like, but yet we can all have our own opinion on politics, money, and religion.
And we all do have our own opinions
on
things.
And it's funny how people get so, like, hurt by it.
Yeah.
But I just feel like if someone told me, like, I just don't care. Yeah. Like, it's just weird. Like, if someone's just like, oh, I think your religion's so wrong, or you don't believe in anything, so, I would, like, I don't care. Like, whatever. I feel good with what I felt. And I went through a weird transition because I didn't grow up religious either. Mm-hmm. But I did get my first communion and my confirmation. I grew up Catholic, but we didn't practice anything. So we didn't go to church or anything, but I did do those two things. And then when I, like, moved out to LA, I still never went to church or anything like that, but I was always Catholic. And the one thing I'd always do is I wouldn't eat meat on Good Friday. And it was like this thing that was, like, ingrained in me. And then to bring back my friend who was Muslim, it was the very first time that he's like, oh, I don't eat pork. Mm-hmm. And I go, what do you mean you don't eat pork? I said, yeah, again, didn't know. Yeah. And he's just like, oh, it's against my religion. I said, and this was my mind not thinking, just straight up asked. I go, so your God doesn't let you eat pork, but mine does. So if you're right, does that mean that everyone who eats pork is going to hell in your mind? Yeah. And he's like, well, yeah, but, like, he's like, yeah, but no. Yeah. And didn't really know how to answer it, but yet was like, will not eat pork. Yeah. And so then it kind of broke down everything that I thought, where I'm like, I love this guy. Yeah. He's in a, like, it just didn't, it was my first, like, thing. I remember asking my parents about it, and I can't remember what they said, but I started doing research. And then there were different things in my life that started coming up that I just go, huh.
Yeah.
I started, because I didn't have a bias. I was
Yeah.
never forced one way or the other. I was just, it took me till I was about 2 years ago, was the first Friday that I go, you know what? You know who finally let me, this is really funny. Bill Burr did a stand-up
Ha, I love
where
Bill
he was
Burr.
talking about religion. He goes, there's so many people that have their foot in and out.
Yeah.
He goes, you're either in or you're out. And I go, and that's the whole thing. I was like, I don't go to church.
Yeah.
I don't practice,
But why?
sex.
Why are you
I
in
have
or
sex
you're
before
out?
marriage.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing I held on to out of fear. I could barely taste the meat the day I was eating it because it was 29 years of programmed fear.
Hardwiring.
And so that made me understand why people get so aggressive. It took me till I was 2 years
Oh,
ago. Now I just go,
wow.
I walked away completely.
Yeah.
If I do go to a Catholic wedding, I don't go up and get the body of Christ.
Yeah.
I've walked away from it all completely.
Yeah.
I don't know my stance on, I don't know what to call myself, you know what I mean? I don't really feel like
think you gotta call
figuring it
yourself
out.
anything.
But, and then when I heard the stories about, like we were at another wedding where like there was a gay guy who was in the bridal shower, and yet the person up top was like, marriage is something that's taken in, or that's
I've been to weddings like
a man and a woman. I was like, now, okay, if you're against, let me tell you something. 50% of people that I've met, are you here? Like, it's not. So that's my last thing. I stepped away from it because I said, oh, you're not. Two men can't get together.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Or what? We're gonna go to a place that we've created that is made out of fire with a small red man that's gonna stick a pineapple up your butt if you're gay? Like what are the parameters here? What that was always my issue with heaven and hell. Because heaven sounds amazing, right? But hell, like what do you got to do to go to hell? Like Hitler, is he there? Obviously, probably for sure, if there is a hell. But like somebody that cheated on their taxes and a lot of people lost money. Are you going to hell or what? Like you're gay. Are you going? Like
what are the qualifications here?
Yeah, and since none of us know, then none of us should be making any like. My dad talks. My dad's religious, and we've have a lot of pastors in the family, and like he came from going to church every Sunday, and he still goes to church, but he doesn't take any of it literally. So like, and I think it was really helpful to have him break down things like the Bible for me when I was younger, because he's like, when they, in his opinion, when they say Jesus took a blind man and made him see, my dad doesn't read Jesus took a man who was blind and did something and now he can see. He took somebody who was blinded by his circumstance and now he can see, he's got hope again. So I think that's where religion is something we've created so we don't have to fear what's next. And when I have problems when people quantify their religion and I get to determine something about you and the people that you love because my book that I can't even confirm was written by whoever says this, this, and this. And yet you go into the Middle East and it is, that's how you know who to kill and who not to kill. I mean, it's just, the concept of religion can be so frustrating because I think it's important. I think religion is important because it helps guide you to be a better person if you're using it for your own betterment, but it can also really separate us as a society.
And that has been proven.
And we do it every day.
Yes.
I love the community. Both sides.
On both sides.
I love the sense of community. I understand all that.
Totally.
And then the people too who are super Catholic or any other religion, but also don't follow everything. Like there was this like chick that I knew who I knew was cheating on her husband. But every time we went to lunch, she would like pray before she ate. And I go, you're cheating on your husband, but praying before you eat your food. Or there's people who talk shit. Or there's people who have, how many people have sex before marriage or have, like, you know who Ben Shapiro is?
Yes.
He's a conservative. He's got one of the biggest conservative podcasts.
Yes,
and
yes.
he is so true to his religion that I'm almost like,
He's so what?
true to his religion.
What's
not
his
that
religion?
I agree. He's Jewish.
Okay.
But not that I agree with like, but his like he didn't have sex before marriage. He's only been with one woman. When he was dating, they weren't looking to hook up. They were looking for a life mate.
Yeah.
But then here's something I don't agree with. And even though he's so open and he's for people getting married who are from the LGBTQ community, marrying each other, he's all fine. But because of his religion, he cannot go attend a gay friend's wedding because he cannot be in the presence of two men.
Me. Yeah.
So, but he's all in. in his religion. I think there's also people who aren't all in. So you're like, you kind of are in or out, and you're making it harder. Like, at least if you're going to be all in with all of it, be all in with it or not. But I'm not telling people what to do. I'm just saying how I see it.
Yeah.
But just because I don't agree with Ben on that, and I don't agree on all of the stuff conservatively, but I agree with a lot of it too. I can look at Ben Shapiro and go, oh, dude, come on. I don't agree with that. Right. But the next thing you say is super smart, and it relates to me. And I go, I can literally listen to him and take the things that I agree and not agree, but I don't feel any different.
Right. You don't personalize it. We as a society have lost the ability to hear something that's different from what we think and go, okay, I see that. I acknowledge it. I'm not personally offended. And what's your second point? Okay, I see that. I acknowledge it. I'm with you on that. Great. What's your like we can't talk anymore about anything because if it's different from what the other people think, and now that everybody has an outlet to bitch about things, and we just want to be, I feel like social media is a place where we're like anger, like we hate, it's where we get our fear from the world moving so fast, we like get it out on people online. And so the idea that you can listen to somebody who is practices Judaism and is very strict about it, like if he can't go to a gay friend's wedding, does he denounce the gay friend, or does he just congratulates and I just can't go?
He just can't go because of his religion. I don't have a
problem with that because that's a you thing, and like if that's my best friend, I'm bummed, right? Because I want you to be at my wedding, but if you can't, I respect your religion.
I respect his religion, his decision, and commitment to the religion. I don't agree.
Sure.
But I don't write him off because of one thing I don't agree with. It's like kind of like, do you, man?
Yeah.
Like if I was your friend, or that's something you deal with your friend if your gay friend is upset about it.
Yes.
I'm not involved in that.
Right.
And I'm sure there's people who are gay who watch him too, are like, well, I like everything else you're saying. I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you look at people that vote for Trump. There's a lot of things that they agree with, and then there's a lot of things where they go, nah, I can't. But it's this weird like, how do we agree and disagree? And so that goes into our need for tribalism, our move towards, well, everything's moving so quickly and we're so fearful that I'm gonna worry. So my dad always explains the Old Testament was very tribal, very like, I'm in it for me and mine, and that's kind of where Trump has taken our country. And the New Testament is very like open, we're all in this together as one, and that was very Obama. And so when we swing one way, we lose people that are fearful and tribal, and then it swings the other way and we lose the people that are open, and so it just keeps swinging. But I thought the Old Testament and New Testament comparison was really fascinating. Just as the progression of our religious book of where people start and where they end, and the irony of the Bible is they end in a very open, accepting, family oriented, we're all together place, and yet we don't really talk about that in religion, and I don't know why.
Have you ever read the Bible full? I haven't either.
I would be interested to, but
I feel now I would. Yeah. I'm just curious.
I am super curious, but also the old timey English. I feel like they'd lose. I just wouldn't.
As well.
I just want to hear about the stories.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not the blind, and now he can. It's
an analogy. I feel.
And it's brilliant that people even back then had their heads up their ass, maybe in a shitty relationship, and was like, "Listen, your guy's an asshole."
Yeah.
I know you can't see it, but then you finally show them, or whatever the thing is. Sure, it wasn't that, but
but whatever it is,
or they can't see that they can get over their own fear, and now you help them that they are good enough, or whatever their thing was holding back.
And maybe Jesus wasn't even a person that exists. Maybe Jesus is like your spirit talking to you. Like your spirit helps you see when you like whatever. I mean, if you take all of the this really happenedness out of the Bible, it's beautiful. And I've never read the Bible, but I'm familiar with the concept. I had to go to church all the time, and I had family that would break it down and explain things. My brother's very religious and is very intellectually connected to religion, so he can explain to me kind of what maybe the interpretation is of something, and I think that's it's very beautiful. But when we weaponize it, that's the problem.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little more spiritual, because like I pray every night before I go to bed. I've always done that my whole life. I don't know, maybe it's my comfort makes me feel good.
Sure.
But I don't go to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't really go to church ever.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. And yet when you're scared or fearful, you pray. Yeah. And so what are we doing? We're hoping we're out of, if we just strip everything down, we are in a vulnerable place where we have no control. And so our instinct is to talk to a third-party person who might be able to help, whether there's anything or anyone there, or they can do anything. Another fascinating concept my dad has is that God or Mother Nature or Buddha or whatever is in charge for the energy of us, that they're in control of the spiritual world, but that they have no control over the physical world. So everything that happens in the physical world is energy. Us, free will. But it's also random. Good things happen to good people. Great things happen to shitty people. Shitty things happen to amazing. Like, there's no rhyme or reason really, other than the world is random. And so if you kind of navigate the world through that lens, then I feel like you don't.
I like that.
Yeah,
I'm such a firm believer, though, in energy. Like, you know, when things are just going wrong and you're late and you hit every stop sign, like, energy is so freaking real. It freaks me out. And I feel that that's a huge source in everything that everyone does.
Totally.
And I think the more good things happen to you, the more you're surrounded with good people, the more you're educated, making better decisions, the more you're working on becoming better, you're going to have a better shot.
Absolutely.
Like, are there pieces of shit who stumble across a lottery ticket and become a millionaire overnight? I'm sure that happens, and their whole life changes or whatever. But like you said, there's also children who get cancer at 4.
Right.
And you're just like, what?
Right. You can be, and I would even argue, you can be in a great place mentally and meditating and clearing your aura or whatever, you know, and you're surrounded by good people, and then your dad gets sick and dies.
Right.
Did you deserve that? No. Does that mean the world's out to get you? No. It's just, I think the goal of life is to be as good of a person as you can be, and then understand that good and bad things are going to happen, and you just roll with the punches and try and continue to be as good of a person as you can. But I think there's so much also we don't understand about energy and meditation and what, like, law of attraction, and I don't know what's real and what isn't, and I don't even know if I necessarily believe in karma, but I think there is proof that if you work hard at being the best version of yourself, the universe will help rally around you.
Yeah.
And it's better to live as if, not in fear of karma or going to hell.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't live in the fear, but it's all put in place for you to be kind. Don't go don't break into someone's house and steal their shit. Like, there's no, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you should always do the right thing when you can, but then it's okay to make a mistake and not to go down this rabbit hole, because we've gone down some really good rabbit holes today, though.
Let's talk about abortion next, huh?
Just gotta go.
We actually do have to wrap up in 2 minutes. I wish we could talk longer. Just because it's getting
an hour
a
and a
little
half
long.
we've been chatting.
Oh my
Isn't that
gosh!
crazy?
Well, I could just talk to you guys for hours and hours and hours.
We had a 4-hour podcast
I know.
we didn't shoot the other night.
Well, I'm gradually, because like this is what's crazy, is I can't wait until we can actually generate enough revenue through all of our platforms with podcasting to hire someone to operate the cameras and the audio. Because I'm always like, how much space is left on here? How much space here? And I never want to like cut off. But it'll be cool one day to just never have to worry about it. And even Joe Rogan has like, I think he has like 3.5 hour podcasts where he just chats with people.
Yeah.
And it's riveting because you start to dig into it. If we try to talk about anything we talked about today on an Instagram story,
you can't.
You don't have enough time for people who are really interested to sit down and go, let me hear everything. And we'll still get some shitty comments, I'm sure. But that's all fine. I mean, that's just like, we weren't saying anything. We were just speaking our minds, and we were entitled to our opinion, and people need to relax on that. But they can also share why. And I loved hearing that too. People share all the stuff all the time. But anywho, before I get into the next thing, I forget what we were talking about. But we'll go ahead and wrap up.
We're going to go make some TikTok videos.
We're going to make some TikTok videos. That'll be another podcast. But Molly's right down the street, so we're going to make her. Yeah, comment below if you want Molly to come on all the time.
Yes.
And then we'll have her on as a regular because we love shooting the shit
Our
with
girl.
Woo!
you and talking. But
Thanks for listening. If you've made it to this point, man, thank you.
that's true.
And I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that means we've kept your. I'm sorry. That means we've kept your attention for an hour and a half. That's
Yeah,
quite
man.
the feat. So, but thank you all for listening, and we'll be back very, very soon.
Sweet.